Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of AEW Dynamite, the first night of Fyter Fest, and the recap of WWE NXT, which was the Great American Bash Part 1. The competition has heated up between WWE and AEW. Shout out to the chat room for tuning in live, and thank you to everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership very much. Now, let's get started with AEW Fyter Fest Night 1 from Jacksonville, Florida. We had a special Dynamite intro for Fyter Fest. We had women chilling around ringside in bikinis. It was a festive atmosphere. Chris Jericho arrived to do color commentary for this show. He was wearing a Canadian jacket. It was Canada Day, and he even took a few shots at Excalibur. He said, Excalibur, just like the show The Masked Singer, you can have a show for Excalibur called The Masked Idiot. Great stuff from Jericho. We had our first match of the evening, tag team match. MJF and Wardlow versus the Jurassic Express. MJF was all pretty in pink with his ring gear. He cut a promo. He's tired of beating up the Jurassic Express guys over and over. And he talked about how he's there because AEW needs him. There is a ratings war going on, according to MJF. We had the match, which was really solid between these guys. And MJF attempted his dirty tactics, a low blow, almost pinned Luchasaurus. But then MJF went for his Dynamite ring, and he accidentally hit Wardlow with the ring. And then we had Luchasaurus hit the choke slam, and then hit the standing moonsault to pin Wardlow. Wardlow pretty much kicked out right when the 3 count went down. So AEW really doing everything possible to protect Wardlow in defeat. Luchasaurus got his win back from last week's show. And technically, MJF has still not been pinned or submitted in AEW. Fun opener to kick off Dynamite. Video Game Lover 58 says, nice Halloween 2 shirt. Thank you, I appreciate that. AEW announced for next week that there will be not a puppy bowl, but a puppy battle royal. They should call me, and we should have a kitten battle royal on AEW Dynamite. Just saying. We had Joey Janela and Lance Archer brawling around the ringside area, and I believe a match was set up for next week with those guys. We had a women's championship match, Hikaru Cheetah versus Penelope Ford. Really good match between these two. Arguably the best AEW women's championship match to date. I really enjoyed this one. Certainly Penelope Ford's best showing, in my opinion, up to this point in AEW. Caleb Jacobs with a $10.33 super chat donation. He's going off topic here. So Caleb, I am going to address your question later. I'm going to put it in my notes so I remember it. But let's go ahead and get back to AEW. Again, guys, I really appreciate the super chats, but please try to stick to the topic so I don't go all over the place with these recaps. So anyways, Ford looked great in this match. She did her Matrix move to counter Cheetah off the top rope, and Ford hit a stunner, got a near fall. She started to get desperate. She grabbed the women's title, and then when the referee was distracted, Kip Sabian ran down with a kendo stick, but Cheetah fought him off, and then Ford hit another stunner, but Cheetah once again kicked out. Ford went for a moonsault, but she missed, and then Cheetah hit her running knees, followed by a Falcon Arrow. 1, 2, but no. Ford kicked out, and then Cheetah hit another running knee strike to pick up the victory over a very game, and I actually mean this seriously, not like, she basically got squashed. She had a really good showing here, and one of those matches where I think losing did more for Penelope than winning. She had a very good showing here, and like I said, one of the better, if not the best, AEW women's title matches to date. Very solid stuff from these two. We had Taz with a video package or a vignette, whatever you want to call it, talking about the paradigm shift and how it will not be enough to beat Brian Cage. We had our TNT Championship match, Cody Rhodes versus Jake Hager. Jake's wife was out there with him, Miss United States, and I guess Jake Hager's new nickname is Rock Hard Jake Hager. We had Hager going after Arn Anderson during the match, shoving him into the staging area, and then Jake's wife slapped Cody. Arn Anderson managed to get back on the apron, and while the referee was distracted, we had Dustin Rhodes come out, took a shot at Hager, and then Hager managed to come back from that. However, he went for his arm triangle submission. Cody managed to counter that into a pinfall, and interesting finish here because Cody basically passed out as he was laying on top of Hager. So Cody won, but by the absolute skin of his teeth. After the match, a very frustrated Hager punched out the referee, and the announcers were completely outraged over this. We had officials come down, and it was pandemonium. So AEW, once again, with a creative finish to protect somebody in defeat. I like it. Good stuff here from these guys. I never expected Hager to win the title, but he did look strong in defeat, and I guess the feud with him and Dustin continues. We had a Darby Allin vignette with him riding around on his skateboard. Doesn't really do much for me, but whatever, that's his thing, so more power to him. We had Orange Cassidy come down to ringside to sit by Chris Jericho at the commentary desk. Did not say anything, though. He just sat there and did what Orange Cassidy does. Not care that much about anything. We had Santana and Ortiz against the Private Party. Matt Hardy was out there at ringside, and Matt Hardy was basically the difference maker in this match. You had Ortiz and Santana attempt to use their loaded sock, which Hardy got away from them, and then Private Party hit the gin and juice, 1, 2, 3, picked up the win. After the match, Jericho was frustrated that his inner circle buddies lost. He threw some water at Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy started to walk away. Jericho tried to go after him. Security and the wrestlers around ringside all got involved to break these guys up. And that match, of course, will be taking place next week. We had Taz and Brian Cage come down to the ring. And we had an announcement from AEW prior to this. The match that was scheduled for next week between Moxley and Cage will not be happening. Instead, it will be happening in 2 weeks at a special Fight for the Fallen themed edition of AEW Dynamite. Now, of course, we all know the story about Moxley's wife, Renee Young, getting COVID-19 and Moxley wanting to play things safe and not risk anybody getting sick. So he's doing the quarantine, 14-day quarantine, and he'll be back apparently for Fight for the Fallen. which AEW hyped up as a live event. We had Taz and Cage in the ring for a promo, and Taz was just bringing up this COVID stuff, talking about how, yeah, Moxley cares about the health of the wrestlers. But the fact is, according to Taz, Moxley tested negative twice at home, and if Moxley was showing up next week, he would once again be tested before getting in the ring with Cage. And then Taz with the savage line of the night. He said, "We don't run a sloppy shop." Obviously, a knock at WWE and their COVID-19 testing. This got a lot of reactions on Twitter. A lot of people thought that this was very deserved. WWE deserves to be mocked. Others were just so upset over this. If you go on No DQ's Twitter, look at the video clip and the responses. It got a lot of people worked up. People liking it and people just being so angry about it. AEW said they would never take shots at WWE again. But this was interesting. And the legendary Mike B with a $5 super chat just says, "Good job with the sticker." I appreciate it, Mike B. Thank you for tuning in as always. You're almost here every week, so much love to you, Mike B. Taz continued to rip into Moxley and said Moxley only has one illness, and that's the chicken shits. And he said that Moxley is afraid of the machine, Brian Cage. And by the way, Cage was great too, just standing in the background. He did the little gun symbol when Taz was shooting on WWE. I was very entertained by this. Taz has been on fire with his promos as of late. I'm loving what Taz is doing with Brian Cage. Solid stuff here from these guys. It's a shame about the match being postponed, but hey, safety comes first, and we're getting another big Dynamite in 2 weeks. Fight for the Fallen, so turn a negative into a positive. We had our main event match, which was Kenny Omega and Adam Page against the Best Friends. And before the match, Omega and Page cut a promo. Best Friends arrived in a minivan. Big entrance here from these guys. Trent's mom was driving the minivan, and she gave her son Trent a kiss. She was watching the match in the stands. FTR, they were also watching, drinking some beers in beach chairs. Best Friends hit their finisher, and I guess they were on the verge of winning this, but then Omega broke up the pinfall, and then Page hit the lariat to pin Trent Beretta. This kind of made me feel bad that Trent lost with his mom there. I was almost wanting to see them win, but I was never expecting Best Friends to win the titles here. But with the mom at ringside, I was like, oh, this would be a really fun moment. But nope, did not happen. Still tag team champions, Omega and Page. And you know what? I'm not surprised at all. Like I said, I expect Page and Omega to drop the titles to either the Bucks or FTR. So I would put my money down on one of those teams winning the titles. After the match, FTR came down and they brought some beers, but Omega did not want a beer. That's not his thing. He dumped the beer, and FTR took this as disrespect. They got into a heated confrontation. Young Bucks came down to try and make peace with everybody. And that was the end of this week's Dynamite. Setting up next week's show, of course, we got the big 8-man tag match, which should be a hell of a match. Kenny Omega and Page, I believe, will be defending the titles again. And, of course, we got Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. Another loaded show, and don't forget Nyla Rose in action. But, hey, maybe we'll get some kind of surprise with that. That's on next week's show. Really good Dynamite. Usual quality stuff from AEW. Solid B. Not the best Dynamite, but still very good stuff overall. Let's move on here to NXT. And Caleb, if you're still around, I will get to your super chat later. We had a video opening for the Great American Bash. We had some fancy cars on the staging area. We had red, white, and blue ring ropes, which is traditional when WWE does the Great American Bash. We had our first match of the evening, Teagan Knox versus Dakota Kai versus Mia Hamm versus Candace Array. Winner gets an opportunity at the NXT Women's Championship. And very few commercial breaks during this show. A lot of picture-in-picture, a lot of advertisements during ring entrances and whatnot. We'll see if this strategy works for WWE in the viewership numbers. NXT won last week, by the way, which shocked a lot of people. Very interested to see what the numbers are for this week. The babyfaces worked together to eliminate Candace Array, and then they started going after each other. After a while, they shook hands and then started fighting, trying to not just double team their way to the end of the match. That actually worked against them, and Dakota Kai ended up pinning Mia Hamm, and then it was down to Teagan Knox and Dakota Kai renewing their rivalry. They went back and forth for a while. Crowd was chanting NXT, and then Teagan hit the Molly go-round, followed by the Shiniest Wizard, 1, 2, 3, to pick up the victory, and she will challenge Io Shirai now for the NXT Women's Championship. Really good match between the ladies here. They had a very fun opening match to kick off the show. And Ken, terminated by Google with a $5 super chat, says, is Mia Hamm the only competitor to use a devastating dragon suplex? I like Teagan, but Mia should have won. By the way, I got a question from Monday later. That I'm not sure about the dragon suplex. Maybe somebody in the chat can answer that one. I'm fine with Teagan winning, and clearly Mia Hamm and Candace Array, their feud is still going on, so I'm fine with it. I still think ultimately Candace should get the big push of all these ladies, but I would think right now is too soon because I'm not expecting Io to be dropping that title anytime soon. So if Candace is going to be the next one, then spread it out over a while and let Candace get her opportunity in a couple months. If she gets it right now, she's probably not winning the title. So moving on here, we had Damien Priest cut a promo, and he talked about Cameron Grimes and said that Cameron Grimes now has his full attention, and Grimes is going to regret this, and the beating that Grimes gets, it will last forever. We had Tim Thatcher versus Ohne Lorcan, and this match was awesome. This was just an old school classic wrestling match. They just beat the shit out of each other, trading blows, trading submissions. Honestly, I think this was the best match of either show. Like, I thought this was really solid stuff here. I don't know if it would get over on the main roster on Raw or SmackDown with 15, 20,000 people with these guys not really developed as characters, but I think for hardcore wrestling fans, like, this is the kind of stuff they want to see. I mean, they just went out there and just had a great fight. And it's one of those matches where you can watch it and suspend disbelief and think wrestling is real. That's how good these guys were and made it look really good. So props to these guys, and they both have great facial expressions, especially Ohne Lorcan. I love his facial reactions. So definitely recommend checking this match out if you did not see it. And Tim picked up the victory with the Fujiwara armbar. I would go out of your way to see this if you missed it. We had a Killer Cross vignette, and he said, it's not about the time you put in, it's about the time you take away. Tick-tock. Ken in the chat room says it reminded me of Finlay versus Regal from WCW. Yeah, that would be a good example. I mean, it definitely felt like a throwback to a previous era. Um, but yeah, it was great for what it was. I mean, it definitely felt like two people having a real fight. So there you go. And this next match was pretty much the opposite. This was the Vince McMahon special. This was a comedy match. We had Rhea Ripley in a handicapped match against Aaliyah and Robert Stone. Robert Stone came out dressed up like Marvelous Mark Mero with the boxing outfit, and he was dancing around, goofing off. But Rhea Ripley would manage to beat the crap out of both of them, threw Aaliyah right onto Robert's nuts, and he attempted a roll up on Rhea but had no strength whatsoever. And she ended up putting both of them in submissions at the same time, tapping both of them out to pick up the victory. So yeah, it was a complete 180 from the other match, but hey, it served its purpose as far as some fun entertainment on this show. It was fine. We had Dexter Lumis versus Roderick Strong in a strap match. They brawled all over the place. They fought on the stage. They came back to the ring, and then Bobby Fish attacked Lumis, and Strong almost won the match, but Lumis kicked out. And then Fish got into the ring to try and interfere some more. Lumis took him out, and then Strong got knocked into Fish. Fish fell off the apron, and then Lumis wrapped the strap around the neck of Strong, put on his submission, and the match was over. Dexter Lumis victorious via submission. Match was fine. I don't think it was as good as the Thatcher Lorcan match, but it was good. It was pretty good. We had a little video package, Prime Target with Keith Lee and Adam Cole. Next week, champion versus champion on night 2 of the Great American Bash. We had Johnny Gargano backstage with Candace, talking about Candace being eliminated in the Fatal 4-Way match. He said that they're just jealous of her, and then Candace found Mia Yim, and the two of them brawled. It was announced that next week they will fight. I believe it was a street fight that was announced. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. Santos Escobar came out with his crew to cut a promo, and he said that Lucha Libre guys are more than just guys doing flips. You don't say. And he said that they are going to leave a legacy to be proud of. Drake Maverick ran down. His heart is bigger than his mind. He wanted to fight, but the three of them beat him down again. But this time, Drake had some help. Fandango and Tyler Breezango came out, made the save, and then a challenge was issued, and the match was made for next week. 6-man match, Escobar and his team against Drake Maverick and Breezango. And now I will talk about the topic here from Caleb Jacobs, who left a $10 super chat earlier. He says, in my opinion, Drake Maverick is obviously going to eventually win the Cruiserweight title from Santos. Do you think EC3 should beat Moose at Slammiversary for the TNA title? I don't know if Drake's going to win the Cruiserweight title. He might. They might do that feel-good story, but I like Drake a lot. However, I think there's something here with Escobar. I like his promos. I feel like he's got a pretty bright future if WWE plays their cards right. And as far as EC3 goes, like I'm half expecting him to be in that main event for the world title, not the TNA title. He'll be that mystery guy and win the title. If I had to make a prediction on that, I would say EC3 is your best candidate for that role. We had Cameron Grimes backstage, and he basically blew off Damien Priest and said he's going to the top. He's calling out the winner of Adam Cole versus Keith Lee, which again takes place on next week's show. We had our main event, Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai. Sasha arrived in her fancy car. Bayley was there with her. They had a dog. I hate to say this because it just makes me come off like a complete nerd, but I liked the Best Friends entrance better with the minivan. Like, I was marking out for that. This, I'm like, it's fine and whatever, but, you know, I thought it was really funny with the minivan, so I got to go with the minivan for the win. Yes, I'm a nerd, but got to go with that. People are going to say, what's wrong with me? Good question. So we had this match. Bayley was interfering in a unique way, honking on the car horn to distract Io Shirai. And Sasha got control. She trash talked. She got Io in the tree of Tree of Woe, and started slapping her around. Sasha then went for a frog splash, but she missed. Io got a crossface on. And then Bayley put one of the women's tag team titles in the ring. Referee went to get it, and Bayley took a shot at Io when the referee wasn't looking, and it looked like Sasha was going to pick up the win, but then all of a sudden, Asuka, the Raw Women's Champion, appeared from under the ring. Sasha was going to try and use the other women's title, but Asuka grabbed it from her and then spit the mist in Sasha's face. Io then rolled up Sasha. Sasha managed to kick out of that, but then Io hit the moonsault off the top. 1, 2, 3 to pick up the victory over Sasha Banks. Asuka and Io, big celebration after the match, and we had this little pyro go off at Full Sail University. Pretty pathetic pyro, but I mean, that's really the best they can do in that little studio compared to AEW in the amphitheater. And that was NXT, everybody. I'm curious to see now. I mean, this finish here with Sasha losing makes me wonder if Sasha's going to win the title, but we got the predictions coming up in a week or two, so I'll think about it some more. Another solid show. I am going to also give this one a B. Hard to pick which one I thought was stronger. I might go with AEW, but it's super close this week. I thought both were pretty much neck and neck. I think NXT had the best match overall with Thatcher and Lorcan, but I think AEW had the most memorable moment with Taz taking a shot at the COVID-19 testing from WWE. Ken Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, since you legitimately hate contract signings, what is your favorite? Mine would be Andre and Hogan. Heenan is more over than Psycho Jet Black and EC3. Probably that one with CM Punk and Vince McMahon for the match with John Cena. I think that one was my all-time favorite because that was right when CM Punk was at the peak of his Summer of Punk momentum, the wave of momentum. So that would be my favorite one that I could recall. That might have been when he mentioned the ice cream bars, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. And Hamp Connor with a $2 super chat says, Jake Hager has now lost 2 huge matches by pinfall. Yes, that's true, but he did lose in a strong way, like I said during the Dynamite recap. And if you're gonna have Hager lose, that was probably the best way to do it and make him look strong in defeat. CC Drink says B for both. Tic Tat Tat gives the edge to NXT with a B+, and so does Dr. NXT Scorpio, although he does have NXT in his name, so that could be a little bit of a biased reaction. And Shady Snake gives NXT a D. Really? Come on now. Michael Wayne gives NXT a B plus and a B for AEW. Legendary Mike B gives an A minus for both shows. And looks like for the most part, people are giving NXT a slight edge other than Shady Snake. But yeah, I think they were neck and neck this week. Both shows very fun to watch as always. And hey, we got another week of these two big shows, Fyter Fest Part 2 versus Great American Bash Part 2. Make sure you guys stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Tune in for the No DQ review coming up. And of course, Smackdown. A lot going on in wrestling. NoDQ.com will keep you updated and informed. Thank you all for watching. Be safe, stay positive, and I will see you guys next time.